This is the most significant UFO sighting of 1947, and it wasn't Roswell. In fact, it happened just a few days before Roswell, in June of 1947, and I'll lay money that you've heard of it. It has been generally swept under the rug as a single witness, easily dismissed as a misinterpretation of what was seen. As such, the military claims it was debunked. But what they never told us was that there were multiple witnesses in different locations at or near the same time seeing the exact same thing. In 1947, it was easy to keep these witnesses apart, not letting them compare their stories, dismissing their claims, and keeping the press from picking up the similarities of the sightings. But if any of these events had been publicized as being related to the Arnold sighting, which was getting a ton of publicity, I believe that the whole UFO narrative would have been vastly changed in 1947, and there would be a great deal of more interest in the Roswell crash when it happened just a week later, and disclosure would have already happened. We're talking about Kenneth Arnold's story. Remember him? The guy who coined the phrase flying saucer? He was a pilot flying near Mount Rainier when he saw several shiny objects flying at impossible speeds. We are all familiar with Kenneth Arnold's story and the fact that very little of it was taken seriously at the time. I first found another witness buried in the Project Blue Book files, a Fred Johnson who was prospecting up at 5,000 feet on Mount Adams, not even 50 miles away from where the Kenneth Arnold sighting was. And he saw the exact same thing that Kenneth did, several shiny objects flying in formation at incredible speeds. His Project Blue Book case even references Arnold, listing the sightings as simultaneous. Johnson used a scope to look at the objects. He wasn't looking at birds or any of the other things that they tried to dismiss Arnold's sighting with. Both Arnold and Johnson accounts relate that their compasses were going crazy at the time of the sighting as well. Birds just don't do that. There was another private pilot who, on the same date, roughly 30 minutes before Arnold's sighting, was named L.G. Rainier near Vancouver, British Columbia, and he reported seeing 3 strange objects flying almost edgewise towards Mount Rainier. Rainier remarked that these could be visitors from another planet. In Yakima, a lady named Ethel Wheelhouse reported seeing several flying discs moving at fantastic speeds. At a fire watchtower in Washington State, an official of the Forest Service in Diamond Gap, also near Yakima, reported seeing weird flashes over Mount Rainier, moving in a straight line. Sidney B. Gallagher of Washington State, he reported seeing 9 objects flash by to the north. Also on the same day in Seattle and Bremerton, there were additional reports of flashing, rapidly moving, unknown objects flying in the morning and at night. What do we make of all of this? Well, in this day and age, with social media and the connectedness that we all take for granted, I think we'd have linked up these witness accounts. If we had had UFO-Track then, we'd have timestamps of the sightings, maps plotted for each of the location witnesses, and we would actually have a trajectory for these objects. But then, even if the other witnesses had made the connection, they saw the way that the authorities were just dismissing Kenneth Arnold with explanations like mirages, pelicans, and lenticular clouds, basically discrediting him and his report. I believe they would have been probably quite discouraged by that. But what if? What if Kenneth Arnold had gotten together with even just a couple of these witnesses? That would have changed the ability of the government to dismiss this away. His sighting probably was taken very seriously, just not in the public, but behind closed, locked military doors. But if the Forest Service officer had also come forward, or that other pilot, their credentials would have carried more weight. And if the press would have reported UFOs were buzzing the Pacific Northwest in June of 1947, and those witnesses were treated with respect, then more would have probably come forward and more information could have been gathered. Then, just 1 week later, when the Roswell crash was reported, the authorities might have chosen a different narrative other than weather balloon. Who knows? It's all speculation now. But I believe if these witnesses had connected, things would have changed so fundamentally that disclosure would have happened in 1947 because the evidence, even then, would have been overwhelming. We'd be living in a different world right now. It is the intent of UFO-Track to turn single-witness anomalous events into multi-witness verifiable data-rich events such that we can study these objects, determine precisely their size and speed and altitude, etc. It's our desire to help collect and analyze that data in cooperation with organizations that study it and need it. It would not be living in this fringe subculture area of society that it is now. It would be part of our history, our education, our mathematics, and our world. I wonder how many other sightings, famous or otherwise, had witnesses that we just haven't connected the dots of yet. I don't know, but I do know that we should keep looking up. And subscribe to the UFO alert system developed by UFO-Track if you want to be alerted to strange things flying in the sky near you.